has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast, hour number 2, right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty. As we always like to do, we have to let you know you got to get the new SportsGrid app. I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know why you don't have it already. It's available both at the iOS and the Play stores. You can track scores and live odds. Stay up to speed with all the latest content from your favorite hosts. You can watch or listen anytime, anywhere on the app. Watch SportsGrid on the app. Listen to SportsGrid Radio, including Carver and Lisi, weeknights, 8 p.m. East. That's all right there for you. You can follow Joe on the app, and you can get all of his juice. I mean, even though football season's over, he's become a college basketball guru as well. So you can get Joe in the mix with all his clips on the app. Again, available iOS and the Play Store. It is smarter to be on SportsGrid. Go to sportsgrid.com/watch. to see all the platforms you can find us on. All right, Joe. Remember when you were a kid, Joe, and maybe you had a Pee Wee football game or maybe a Little League game, something like that, and the team won? I mean, where'd the coach take you afterwards, Joe? Where'd the coach going to take you after the game? Would he take you pizza, right? Well, DQ, I guess, in Jersey. Hey, DQ. How about the pizza? Let's get pizza. I mean, come on. Big celebration. Team wins. Got to go get pizza. I've never seen it on the NBA level before, but the Raptors won 3 games in a row for the first time this year. Darko Rajakovic told the team he's going to take him out to dinner. Let's hear what Darko had to say about the big celebration.
I don't know anything about pizza.
Well, apparently your coaching staff was coming out talking about pizza.
So the story goes that I promised our guys early in the season that once we get 3 wins in the row, then I'm going to take them to a nice dinner. But since we have such a group of humble guys, they said, like, we don't need any fancy place. We can go for a pizza. But we're going to negotiate. We're going to go, but I'll treat them to dinner for sure.
Okay. Are you a pepperoni guy? What's your favorite?
My pizza is only margarita, simple Italian
Margarita,
pizza.
Joe. Margarita.
No.
No.
You don't like the L&B Sicilian slices or, Spumoni Gardens? Come on,
Spumoni Gardens. Now, like he said, like he wants to take him somewhere nice. Like, Joe, I mean, we got to get a little surf and turf, a little steak and egg. Come on now. I mean, you can't be doing pizza. I know the guys
NBA players, too. That's not even high school. Darko, he's got alligator arms, Darko. He's definitely got,
Darko,
come on, he's got the money
sounds
stuffed
like
in the
Darko
mattress.
sounded like Darko actually wanted the steak. Darko was looking forward to the steak, and it seems like the players pushed the pizza on him.
The players did exactly what they were supposed to do. The coach goes like this. I want to take you out for dinner, and the coach and the players are like, no, coach, we don't want it. But deep down, they're craving filet mignons and lobster, a little surf and turf. That's where Darko's got to buck up and be like, you know what? We're not going for pizza. I'm taking it to El Molino or something else. I mean, come on. What did he spend? Less than $100? 5 pies? I mean, at the most, 5 pies. Come on.
And then, I mean, the toughest part of it all is that he told them early in the season. I mean, it's almost March. I mean, it took him to win 3 games in a row. It took him a long time, 55-plus games before they got
tirade. Remember the Scotty Barnes tirade? He's an all-pro.
Yes.
And that's how he treats him?
We might have to check in on Darko a little bit more regularly here on Coast to Coast. He's pretty good. He comes out with some good ones. We'll have to, if the Raptors only mattered a little bit more, it would be helpful. And the Nets beat the Grizzlies as well. It was Kevin Olly's first win as the interim coach. Good for them. They're in Orlando tonight, which we'll talk about in a moment. You've been on this, Joe, which was the Luka MVP odds. And they have been going up the board, you should say, since the All-Star break. He was 11-1 at that point. Now 7-1. He's only averaging 34 points, 9.5 assists, and 8.8 rebounds per game this year. Your boy Luka, Joe. I hope you got one of the good numbers.
No, I didn't. But I mean, if he's in the 7 to 8 range, it's still good value. I mean, I still think that he's going to be the face that, as long as they can make a playoff run and a big push, he's going to be just like Giannis, just the way LeBron was when he first came into the league. They always like that young hot star, and that's what Luka is right now. Hasn't won anything, but now he has an opportunity.
Well, it sounds like you say that, like, and there seems to be this thought that, like, there's almost like they're looking for a reason not to give it to Joker again, right? Like, it's almost like they don't want to give it to Joker again. He's the favorite, clearly. He's been ridiculous lately. But it's almost like if Luka or one of these other guys that maybe hasn't won before just goes completely nuts here in this last month, 5 weeks, that they could take it from him. Whether the numbers are better or not, it seems like they don't want to give it to Joker again, Joe, to be quite honest.
Because Joker is like under the radar. Like, he's a great player. He's a Hall of Famer already, but he just doesn't wow you. It's not like, Ja, when he's like 10 feet above the rim doing a tomahawk dunk, right? He doesn't wow you. He just gets it done, does his business, and puts up 30, 14 rebounds and 8 assists a night. And it's just like, it's pedestrian for Joker. So if they can give it to Luka, what did he put in? 73. And if he can back it up, he's averaging 34, get another couple of 50-point games where he's draining threes, moving to the cylinder and dishing it off and making all these electric plays, then the NBA likes that. They like the face of the league. And that was Giannis. That was Joker. Now it potentially could be Luka.
I give to you every week, Joe, of course, the best and the worst against the spread in the NBA. The Thunder, still the best, 36-20-1 against the number. Magic, Sixers, Jazz, Knicks, Pelicans, who play each other tonight, and the Timberwolves on the best. The worst, Joe, the Hawks, still 18-39, and I don't see them getting out of that without Trae Young. Bucks, Hornets, Suns, and Lakers, also among the worst, Joe, against the number.
So I think the team that I'm going to have to bang out in terms of the worst teams is probably the Hawks. I still think they could bottom out at some point. You pick the matchup. And the Thunder, I think the Thunder, I'm going to go after the top dog. Once they put this out, now their next couple of games go against them. Because then everybody's going to be on the Thunder and OKC. Everybody loves them.
Thunder are actually on this board as well, Joe. The best over team, 34 games to the over so far this year, 34-22-1. Sixers, Jazz, Pacers, Hawks, Bulls, all on that. As far as the under goes, the Nets, 32 games to the under. Grizzlies, Clippers, Knicks, Heat, and Nuggets on the underside.
Shocked about the Knicks, aren't you? How Brunson's been so hot and how they've played some games, but their totals have been really high, like pegged a little bit higher for the Knicks this year. Typically in years past, they were like, 218, 217 and that, and now they're in the 230s. That's why they're trending under.
I think a lot of them also depends on who they're playing on a nightly basis. I think last night's number was a little bit lower. We'll see where it's at tonight with the Pelicans, although the Knicks are going to be missing a ton of guys tonight, Joe, that's for sure. I'm going to give you all of tonight's games when we come back. Ferrall, Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High, Joe Lisi in for Scotty. We're back. SportsGrid Radio right after this.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back from Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us here on a Tuesday. All right, Joe, I have a lot of NBA tonight. I wanted to give you this first. Now, yesterday I gave Ferrall the note about Sunday. Sunday, the unders were 10-0-1 in the NBA, which you probably knew because you're an over player all the time. So you probably played some kind of over on Sunday. And
I don't play Sundays. I don't play Sundays, but this is great news for me. This is great news
Sundays.
for me.
On Sundays we rest.
This coming Sunday, this Sunday,
there you go.
Now I'm going to be taking all the overs.
Well, look, here's everything since the All-Star break, Joe, which has obviously been about a week now. I guess last Thursday's when they came back. 72% to the under here. 28-11-1. Since the All-Star break. So I ask you, Joe, you got another heavy night here. We got 11 games we're about to do. When does that tide start to change? You going to start going after some overs tonight?
I think it starts to change. Like, what do we have? About another month and a half of the season left? About another month and a half. So you got teams fighting. You got teams fighting for contention for playoff spots. A little bit more defense. This is lower scoring half court type of games, right? Probably with about 3.5 weeks left to the regular season, I think the overs will start to come back. That doesn't mean you can't pick off value. Just means like from a majority. But to your point, when you tell me 10-0-1 to the under on Sunday, that is a day now that I'll mark, and I'm gonna take a look because most likely a majority of overs will come out when everybody's watching the golf.
If you say everybody's watching the golf, that's what's going on Sunday. Everybody's in at PGA National this week, especially if maybe we have Eric Cole and Rory in the mix. That would be very good. Here's what we have tonight, Joe. Let's start in Cleveland for the Mavs and the Cavs. Luka in the mix tonight. Kyrie returning to Cleveland as well. One of the few games where don't really have anybody of significance that is questionable or not going to be out there. Right now, the Cavs -4.5. 233.5 is the total.
See, I think this game does go over because you have Chuck artists. You have Luka and Kyrie Kyrie coming back home, and you have the human, just the human, not the turnover machine, but just the human abyss in terms of Donovan Mitchell, where the ball rotates to Donovan and never goes back out to the other four players. So how many shots can I bet on Donovan Mitchell taking tonight? 40 plus? That's not out of the realm of possibility. This is the game. I lean to Cleveland, but I like the over in tonight's matchup.
The Nets, after the win last night in Memphis, go to Orlando, where they will see the Magic tonight. No Cam Thomas. He got hurt last night. He's out. Ben Simmons is out as well. I mean, when isn't he, to be quite honest? Banchero, Joe, illness questionable for the Magic. And honestly, aside from the game-winning shot the other night that he had, I guess that was on Sunday, he looked sick the way that he was playing. Magic minus 8.5, 212.5, very low total here.
I think the Magic absolutely smash the Nets tonight.
I do too.
I mean, I think they put up a double-digit win. I mean, I don't even think it's close. Probably trends to the under because what are you going to get out of Brooklyn? But I think Orlando's the side tonight.
Yeah, I if anything, Joe, I'd be laying it with Orlando. The Nets back-to-back nights, missing a couple more guys. Probably not a good spot for them. The Warriors head east for an East Coast trip, and that will start in D.C. against the Wizards. Warriors minus 10.5, 243.5. The total here. Warriors are going to get Chris Paul back tonight. He's set to return. He's missed the last 7 weeks. Wizards have a few guys questionable, including Kispert and Shamet, and a few others, but a very heavy number the Warriors are laying on the road here, Joe.
I'm going to take the points. I think this could be potentially a lot closer than people think. I think this is an under, but I think the Wizards can hang. I'm just not sold on Golden State being this elite team, especially on the road. I think the Wizards are going to be in this game from start to finish. First half line wouldn't shock me if they lead at halftime. How about that?
Ooh, how about that? A lead at halftime for Joe, maybe. Now, the Warriors have been good straight up as double-digit favorites, Joe, but they have not covered. I believe it's 1-4-1, somewhere in that area for the Warriors this season, laying the double-digit number. Utah in Atlanta tonight against the Hawks. Of course, we know the Hawks aren't going to have Trae Young. As far as Utah goes, they're in pretty good shape as well, Joe. They're getting 2.5 here, 238.5. Two of those teams that was on that list I gave you before. Lots of overs for these two.
Yes, I like Atlanta, though. They're one of the worst teams against the spread with their best player out, yet they're favored by 3 at home against a team that plays no defense. So I'm going to lay it. I think they smashed them. Total, I don't know how they're going to get to 238, but I mean, the fact that they trend so much to the over, I would take that bet, but I don't love it. I like Atlanta much more than I like the over.
I like the over, Joe. I do. These are two of the absolute zero defense teams that are in this league. I get we've seen all these under since the All-Star break. Not in that one. They'll fly over that number. The Sixers are in Boston against the Celtics. More heavy lumber here. 12.5 for the Celtics. 231.5 is the number. Of course, Sixers no Embiid. He's going to be out for a while. Everybody else looks to be in for them.
Yeah, I like the points. 76ers have not been playing well. Saw them get beat up by the Knicks a couple games ago. I like the 12.5. They don't have to win it. They just have to be within the number. The fact that it's Boston, I think they're going to have a defensive effort. I like Philly to be live in this matchup and lean to the under as well.
The Pelicans are at the Garden tonight against the Knicks. Now, the Knicks, of course, had that game with the Pistons last night that went down to the wire. They're already, as we know, without Randall. They're without OG Anunoby. Now they also have Brunson and Hartenstein both questionable for tonight. So that's not good news for them. As far as the Pelicans go, Zion's questionable, as is CJ McCollum. Now, Zion's questionable every night, Joe. They do have a back-to-back here. They're playing in Indiana tomorrow night. But I just think with the Knicks, I mean, think about who's out for the Knicks, especially if potentially Hartenstein's out. That's no Randall, no Anunoby, no Hartenstein, maybe. Who's stopping all these guys down low for the Pelicans tonight, especially if Zion plays? I think Zion can eat. I think your boy could eat
Valanciunas?
if he wants to.
What about Herb
Minus
Jones?
4.5. This was 2 last night. Now it's 4.5, 217.5 the total.
I told you, I think they can run up and down the floor. I think they smashed the Knicks. But I tell you what, that total looks appealing to me. Opened at 218.5. Where is it now?
Right now, the total is at 217.5.
Even better. I like the over. The fact that the Knicks were on that under list. Let's take New Orleans in the over. 217.
I will take New Orleans, Joe. I'm definitely in on New Orleans. I don't really like the total either way.
I love the total now. It's down 1.5, even better.
Even better, Joe says. The Spurs are in Minnesota against the Timberwolves tonight. T-Wolves minus 12.5, 223.5 is the total. Rudy Gobert questionable. Cat out, Joe. So no Karl Anthony Towns for the Timberwolves tonight. And you were telling me last night how he was going to eat against Wemby, do all this against Wemby, so he's not in the picture. Who do you like now with the 12.5?
Probably like the Spurs with Wemby now. That was supposed to be the play. Cat against the kid, right? Cat was supposed to be for 30 plus tonight. Now, what do we do? Edwards 35?
I don't play any games involving the Spurs anymore. I was saying this to Gaber. I'm done with Wembanyama. I can't. Any night I play him, he does nothing. I don't play or go against him. The guy's got 29, 15, and 7 blocks. I just can't do it, Joe. I'm out. We'll finish up the rest of the games later. We got Coach next with the Lion's Share. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe for Scotty. We're back on the grid right after this.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, you want to win these basketball games, yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The first unanimous number 1 team this season in the AP poll, which is the kiss of death. True. Right now, given what we've seen winning on the road in college basketball, it's a kiss of death to walk in there as a unanimous number 1 team in the country. Everyone says you're awesome. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And you go up against a coach, a coach who has your number for the most part.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Guess what? Rock fight alert. Rock fight alert. Look at this Missouri-Tennessee score at the under 16. 1-0 Missouri. What is that?
Watched the entire Penguin game on Sunday. Been watching a lot of their games. I feel like we're seeing the end of the Empire. There's talk of them maybe trading some big names.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
If Tibbs can find a way to get the Knicks rolling again as everybody comes back, folks, they are going to shoot up the Eastern Conference standings. They're at 33 wins. I think the Knicks have a chance to maybe, folks, ready? You think I'm crazy? They could get all the way to 2. It is not out of the question.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight
you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us. BetMGM, they're doing it again. They're giving away free money. It's amazing. How about $150 after just betting $5? Are you kidding me? What do you got to do? How about download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. This is for new customers. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $150 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager, win or lose. You also got to use bonus code SG150. That is SG150. BetMGM, once again, giving away free money. Bet 5, get 150 for new customers. All right, speaking of BetMGM, it is time for the Lion's Share, brought to you by BetMGM. And every day, of course, we have Coach James Young with us here to go through tonight's action in NBA rack, college rack, whatever we got on our minds. But it is a heavy NBA slate tonight, Coach. We have 11 games after a light night last night. There was only 4 games, but I have to first bring up the end of the Knicks-Piston game at the Garden. Because it's funny, we talked a few weeks ago, the Knicks got screwed in Houston on that last-second call. I guess you could say it was kind of a give-back last night, Coach. Because DiVincenzo, he hammered Thompson over there on the baseline that's at midcourt. He destroyed him, took his legs out. And I know that's great for the Knicks, Coach, but not so great for Monty Williams, who was pretty upset afterwards.
Not good for Monty Williams, who is just team is just suffering in every way possible.
What a bad year.
And you're right. Listen, the Knicks game against Houston, we know they got robbed. Terrible call. Now, to me, here's how you look at it. Number one, it is a foul. But I'm going to give you the referee's take from it. Thompson doesn't catch the ball cleanly, which I don't even know if he tried to dribble it or he fumbled it. First things first, just catch the ball and hold on to it. You're about to get fouled, right? Secure the ball. He fumbles it, and now it's a bang-bang play. The issue that I have with DiVincenzo is he kind of went in, instead of going laterally, he kind of went into the direction of Thompson to get the ball. Some people think that he got to the ball first. It was a foul. It was clear as day. But for a Knicks team that really, folks, was playing really well, really, folks, until OG went out. They're a little bit of a different team. A big spot tonight on a back-to-back versus New Orleans. New Orleans Pelicans team is not playing particularly well, lost their last 2 games at home, including that little crazy game with Miami with the fight with Jimmy Butler and half the organization. So it'll be interesting tonight for the Knicks. A team that right now is sitting only 1 game ahead of Philadelphia, the loss column for 4th, but 2 behind Milwaukee for 3rd, and I think 4 behind Cleveland, who I think is going to lose tonight.
It's unfortunate, Coach, because I think that if those guys don't get hurt, obviously, and ifs and buts, it is what it is. Those guys don't get hurt. The Knicks maybe are in the mix for the 2 seed, and maybe you're even in it right now. I think the focus now is obviously you want to stay in that top 4, no lower than 5. You don't want to drop any lower than that. And you got to get these guys healthy because there's already been some talk, Coach, that people are going to be worried about Randall coming back maybe too soon because he wants to play. We understand that. OG's been out for a while. You hope when he comes back it's going to be good to go. But they need that crew that was together in January when they were smashing teams. That's the crew that they're going to need when we get to April and the playoffs do start. So I am going to skip ahead here. I know you got your picks here, and you got this one third, but since we're talking about the Knick-Pelican game, I want you to start with that for the Lions share here. This is actually, Coach, gone up. Me and Joe were just talking about this. This is at 4.5 now for the Knicks and the Pelicans, because like you said, you have all sorts of different things involved here now with Hartenstein and Brunson questionable for this game.
You know what? Baby's my New York fandom. I'm going to take the Knicks plus the points. I think they played so awful, particularly in the fourth quarter, making shots. I think that you're going to get a better effort out of Tibbs. I know Joe just said over. I can see Tibbs going old school and this game going under. And it just become an absolute slugfest. I think the Knicks steal it. Maybe not win, but cut the 4.5. That's a lot to be getting points at home. I think it's too much that they're getting. Give me the Knicks plus the points versus the Pelicans tonight.
Let's go to Cleveland next, Coach, where the Mavericks are in town to face the Cavs. Really one of the best games of the night. I gave Joe some numbers earlier that Luka's now up to 7-1 on the MVP board. I mean, the dude's averaging like 35, 9, and 8 this year. He's having he's actually stayed healthy, Coach. He's having a stupid good year, Luka Doncic, and they're catching 4.5 tonight in Cleveland against the Cavs.
You know, this is interesting, Carver. If you look at it, to me, you throw out the Dallas game in Indiana when he lost 133-111. Who's been playing better ball as of late than Dallas? So they're going to go on the road against a Cleveland team that, one, I think is a fraud. Two, they've not covered against the spread the last 5 games, and they're getting 4.5 points. The problem with Cleveland is they got no one to stop Luka, Kyrie, or let's be honest, Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Mavericks plus the points. I actually think they went outright on the road tonight.
How about that? Outright win. I'm with you on that one, Coach. I like the Mavs. Nets won a game last night. They haven't won many of them lately. They were in Memphis against the Grizzlies. First win for Ollie as the interim coach. Now a back-to-back for them where they go to Orlando against the Magic. I saw Banchero's questionable. He's got an illness. He looked like it the other night aside from hitting that game-winning shot. He did not play a very good game for the Magic. But this is now 8.5, Coach. I know it was 9 earlier. 8.5, 212.5 the total.
Well, listen, you look at this game. Good for the Nets. They got to win. But listen, they had to go from Memphis, and then they got to charter and take themselves to Magic City tonight. You figure back-to-back. I doubt we're going to even see. I haven't looked. I doubt we're seeing Ben Simmons. And we know how much different of a team they are when Ben's in there.
And Cam Thomas out, too.
And that's all I need to see right there. An Orlando team that has scuffled a little bit coming out of the break. I know they got the win, at the buzzer. I think the Nets are bad. I think last night you just give it a pass that they played really well versus a team that was, honestly, folks, worse than them. Magic roll them big in Magic City.
I could see that, Coach. I see a 17-point win by the Magic tonight. A tired net team here. Fresh Orlando team could happen. The player prop of the night for Coach. What do you have for me here?
Oh, I'm going to shock some people here. I'm going to go with P.J. Washington. Yes, you've heard of him. Yes, P.J. Washington. Come on down. Over 10.5 points plus assists. This is a really low number. A guy that's hit this, I think, in 11 out of 12 games. 10 out of 15 games so far. He's hit this number. And this is the guy that this could get interesting with him because he's got to be in there for the defense and the rebounding, right? So he will get enough points because I think now, if you think about Cleveland, all their focus starts to turn to Luka and Kyrie. Low number for him. P.J. Washington, over 10.5 points plus assists.
Let me give you a couple of others here, Coach, for tonight. Do you think the Bucks have maybe turned a little bit of a corner out of the break, beating Minnesota, beating the Sixers, of course, in Philly the other day? Fat number again for them tonight, 14.5. How about them tonight with this big number against Charlotte?
Carver, I love them. Here's what I would do, folks. I wouldn't do the whole game. I'd take it for the half and expect them to come out and absolutely thunder punch a really bad Charlotte team. Listen, we obviously know that Brandon Miller has been playing better, but this is a spot where they jump them. I don't want to be dealing with point spread and finesse us in the game in the fourth quarter acting a fool. No, thank you. I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to go ahead. I will just take them in the first half to cover versus Charlotte. I think they're up by 10 or so points. And if you can find it, how about Giannis first quarter or first half? He gets rolling. I know his points props around 29.5. I still think he may get there, but maybe take him in the first half or first quarter. Gets off to a quick start.
I think another good buy tonight, Coach, honestly, is the Heat. Now, the Heat, everybody thought we were going to lose last night in Sacramento because they had no Jimmy Butler with the suspension. Rozier didn't play. Hero didn't play. Everybody thought, and Bam had a huge game, and they ended up beating the Kings. Now they get Rozier back. They get Butler back. So those guys are fresh. They didn't play last night. This is not the typical back-to-back. And you're playing a dog team like Portland. You're laying 7.5. I like the Heat tonight, Coach.
I absolutely love the Heat tonight. I think this is a team, when you look at it, Carver and I just talked about it, this Eastern Conference standings is starting to get jumbled up a little bit, right? You have the Knicks with 23 losses. Philadelphia at 24. They're going to probably have 25 after they lose tonight. Miami 25. Indiana 26. Orlando 26. It's getting tight. These games are big. Miami wins in Portland, and they beat them down.
And you know, this is also, Coach, like, this is the time of the year where, like, they like actually start playing and caring. Like, not that you don't care. It's just, it's a long regular season. You know how Spoelstra and Riley and the Heat do things. They now start to turn it on, and you're starting to see that from them. And you brought this up. I think the Sixers, Coach, are the team that's going to be in the most trouble here, obviously not having Embiid. I think the Heat could pass them. I think Indiana could pass them. And if Orlando ever played well for a few weeks, they could too. You could see the Sixers potentially playing in that play-in game. Coach, tremendous job as always. We'll see you tomorrow on the Lion's Chair, brought to you by BetMGM. We're back on the grid right after this.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka
is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty on Sports Grid and Sports Grid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Every day we have Davis Maddock with us, of course, Fantasy Sports Today on Saturday mornings, and every day right here on Coast to Coast. Davis, good to see you as always. And I actually haven't seen you. I know Scotty brought it up with you yesterday, hitting the DP World Tour, the guy that you found at the Kenya last week. So great job by you. We always love. You said to him there's nothing like hitting a long shot in one of those little tours. I agree with you. I'll even add in, like, even hitting a long shot on the PGA, I think is a great feeling, Davis, to be quite honest with you. Like, when you hit a guy who's, like, I had a couple last year, you know, Keegan Bradley at 70-1 at the Travelers or whatever. You hit a long shot in any golf tournament, there's no better feeling.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't at all. And, I mean, look, people who enjoy hitting long shot winners, they've been having an awesome time on the PGA Tour this year. We got Jake Knapp. We have Nick Taylor. We have Wyndham Clark. And, you know,
everyone.
Matthew Pavon. Like, it's been nuts. Nick Dunlap, the amateur, wins one. Grayson Murray wins one out of nowhere. Chris Kirk wins the Century. Like we have not had really. Scotty has played pretty well, you know, but has not gotten there across the line yet. We're going to see Rory playing this week. Yeah. Oh man, the putting for Scotty has been brutal. And I mean, I guess part of it is the live stuff. You know, I mean, look, it is like we don't have Dustin Johnson, we don't have John Rahm. I haven't thought about the live tour in a while. I guess I'm starting to think about it now because we're getting close to the Masters now.
You're getting close to the Masters, and here's why I've kept my eye on it because I'm such a big golf guy. I love it so much, and there's so many guys that I love to bet on who unfortunately went to live. Like, everybody hates Patrick Reed. Like, I love betting on Patrick Reed because his numbers are so – he's a hell of a good golfer, and his numbers got beaten down so much because nobody's playing him because they hate him. I love Patrick Reed. I play him every year at the Masters now. But now, Davis, they've turned the light on for me in New York for the Live Tour. So starting this week. So they're in Saudi Arabia this weekend, and I can actually now play the Live Tour. And Koepka's won there the last 2 years. I think he's 11-1 this week. So we have our eyes on some things there. We'll get me a Live pick for tomorrow, Davis. When you're with me tomorrow on a Wednesday, you're going to give me a couple golf picks. You got to give me a Live pick. You got a little time here. You got 24 hours. We'll come up with something for the Live golf play in Saudi Arabia this weekend. But I wanted to spend some time with you on the Combine today because, as we know, everybody's in Indy. We've got everybody who's going to run around in their shorts starting in a couple days. And today is like yesterday, today, and tomorrow are the best days because it's the first time you're hearing from the GMs and the coaches really since the season ended. Like, it's been weeks for most of these teams, the bad teams, a month and a half since you've gotten to hear from them. So you get those little nuggets, those little rumors, all that stuff that we love. Now, Ryan Poles talked from the Bears, the general manager, who I still, Davis, I don't know. I don't think he's very good, to be quite honest with you. Ryan Poles is the general manager. And we're going to see even further what he goes here. But I love this tweet from you. And I was out last week. I saw you tweet this. I thought it was great. The idea that the Bears should run it back with a quarterback-coach combo that resulted in 8 wins in 2 years instead of just taking Caleb Williams seems so insane that I refuse to take it seriously. He wasn't really showing his hand today, but I got to tell you, Davis, I think he's going to keep Fields and he's going to trade down. I got a feeling that's what he's going to do.
I mean, maybe, I guess if you could do this, if you could trade down, keep Fields, and maybe the Commanders are just hot to trot for Caleb Williams, and they're like, you know what, 2-1, let's do it. I definitely think that would be fine, right? You do that trade, you select Drake May, trade down to 3 to the Patriots and take Jaden Daniels. I'm not as crazy about that. I really would not do what a lot of people, I'm sure we have some people on our network and elsewhere who are pretty big on J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. That's not so much for me. J.J. McCarthy is like a skinny, I get it. I get that he looks pretty impressive. He made a lot of throws. He won a ton of games in Michigan, but I just think it's pretty clear he doesn't have the same sort of game-breaking abilities that the other 3 quarterbacks in the class do. And yeah, I really like Justin Fields as a prospect. I thought what the Bears did initially in the draft where they took him, I thought it was really smart. Take advantage of this guy from Ohio State. He's big. He's athletic. He's fallen in the draft. Let's take him. But the guy cannot stop taking sacks. He just can't. Justin Fields is not going to be the guy to deliver you from being in the middle of the pack in the NFL to the next level. And I think both Caleb Williams and Drake May could. Obviously, I'm not going to say they will, but they could. And skipping that to build up a roster that still can't win just feels insane. And maybe you're right. Maybe that is what Ryan Poles wants to do.
You brought up J.J. McCarthy. I agree with you. I think if I was a fan of a team that drafted him in the first round to be my franchise quarterback, I think I would be upset, Davis, to be quite honest with you. I don't see the fascination with him, and maybe it's because we didn't get to see him run the same style of offense as these other guys, being at Michigan, and it was so heavy run, and they were up by so much all the time, and I've seen every excuse in the book, but he just doesn't excite me the way that Jaden Daniels excites me, or the way that Michael Penix Jr. excites me. I just don't see it, and I'm going to be stunned when someone takes him in the first 10 or 15 picks.
Well, it definitely sounds like that's happening, right? Pretty much every NFL insider, everyone who knows, suggests that not only is that possible, but that some teams might even prefer him to Drake May. I think you would have to be almost clinically insane to prefer him to Drake May. I watched a bunch of Drake May stuff yesterday just to kind of get a sense, and he is what everyone says about him is true, which is that he really is kind of in that same vein of Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. He doesn't care about playing under control. He wants to run, he wants to make guys miss, he wants to take some hits, and there are some throws on his resume that he definitely would want back, right? There's this great play conference game where he's getting sacked, transfers the ball over to his left hand and throws it into the end zone for the tight end for a touchdown, but obviously could have very easily been intercepted. Whereas you know what teams are hoping J.J. McCarthy is? They're hoping they take him out of the box and he is just Brock Purdy, right? So he comes out of the box and he executes the offense and he kind of makes some things happen, because McCarthy did run a little bit at Michigan, but I'm with you. That just doesn't, I'm not excited to get up in the morning and watch, Brock Purdy 2.0 play, really.
If you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, and Raheem Morris had the line of the day today, he was like, yes, I probably don't have this job if we had good quarterback play. He's just so honest about it. If you're the Falcons, are you excited if they draft J.J. McCarthy with their pick? That just doesn't, it just doesn't move the needle for me whatsoever.
Their quarterback play has been so bad. Their quarterback play has been so bad. Honestly, maybe McCarthy comes in and you're like, you know what? This is awesome. Yeah.
Maybe it is. Wide receivers, Harrison Jr. not going to go there. I guess it doesn't matter, or he's not going to do anything, not even going to go and talk to teams, because I guess you would say he's the best non-quarterback in this draft, period. That's just bottom line, no doubt about it. And there's other wide receivers getting tons of juice, whether it's Odunze, the kids from LSU, but Xavier Worthy, you mentioned this earlier, how good he was at Texas. But he probably does, as you suggested, need to put a little bit of weight on before he goes and plays in the NFL.
It's crazy because you watch him play and you're like, man, this guy can kind of do everything. He can get down the field. They're using him on jet sweeps. He's all around. And you go to his page and you're like, wait, that can't be right. He weighs 160 pounds. To give people an idea, that's even smaller than Tank Dell. So Tank Dell, obviously got really nicked for his size coming out of Houston, ends up breaking his leg, being in the middle of that run blocking pile for no reason. I'm still mad that the Texans had him in on that play for absolutely no reason. But 160 is crazy small. I guess if he can get to like 170, 175 for the combine, it'll probably be fine. Although he probably doesn't want to, because the rumors, the rumblings are that he is going to kind of be in the running to break John Ross's record for fastest 40 time ever for a wide receiver. So it depends on kind of what he and his like representation are optimizing for, weight or speed. I actually would love to see a guy break the John Ross's record.
I wouldn't mind seeing a guy break the John Ross record as long as the guy that breaks it then actually has a productive NFL career and can catch.
Right.
Would be that. As long as that's like goes with it, then I'm cool with seeing somebody break the John Ross record. We'll do a little bit more combine tomorrow. I'm sure that we'll have more nuggets from out there. NBA tonight, 2 plays from you. Let's start in Portland. Back-to-back for the Heat. They're getting a few of their guys back. But you like the other side here tonight, the home side, Davis.
Yeah, I mean, this is your classic scheduled loss here for Miami. They have a couple guys out who are out with suspensions as well. They played last night. They played an 8-man rotation last night. Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, and Jaime Jaquez all had to play more than 40 minutes last night. This is what we would refer to in the NBA as a schedule loss. And maybe I end up eating this one because the Trailblazers really are that bad. Like, they should be 7.5-point dogs here to like half the Miami Heat team. But this is a tall road to climb for the Miami Heat. So I am taking the Portland Trailblazers at home here.
The Mavericks are in Cleveland against the Cavs tonight. Luka's been playing outstanding, out of this world. They're grabbing 4.5 here with Kyrie returning to Cleveland as well.
Yep. I don't care so much about, well, actually, I do kind of like Kyrie coming back to Cleveland. I hope he doesn't take too many shots away from Luka in this spot, but I am just kind of I just don't really believe in the Cavs, honestly. Like, I think they are a good team. I think that they are in a weird spot on their developmental curve because their best lineups probably don't have Evan Mobley in them anymore, or have Evan Mobley playing out of position as a center, but he really has regressed. And I am buying this Mavericks team. They have been awesome since they rejiggered their rotation at the trade deadline. You know, their biggest problem was that they didn't really have a center alternative if Derek Lively Jr. was in foul trouble, if he had gotten injured. And they've had a couple guys in their rotation who are banged up, Josh Green, Dante Eggs, and Maxi Kleba. But now with this, with Daniel Gafford in there and with PJ Washington, I mean, PJ Washington has been an absolute revelation. He's worth trading a first-round pick for him. I think maybe in the end, they probably will want that back. They have traded 3 first-round picks in the last 3 years to try and shore up the center position, and they're still closing games with Maxi Kleba there. But for right now, I think it is working out. So I'm probably just going to be riding the Mavericks a ton the next couple weeks, and I think this is a really good spot for them.
There it is, Davis's NBA plays for tonight. I've only got like 30 seconds. I guess the first of many homers for Ohtani today, Davis, as he went Oppo Taco. I mean, I liked it. He struck out the first at bat, and everybody had all the funny tweets of like, what a bust, struck out in the first at bat, and then he goes Oppo in like the 5th inning and hits one right over the wall, and he left. Unbelievable.
I love it. I mean, spring training highlights, like all I want to see is just huge the Yankees prospect kid at the 470-foot dinger. Like, that's all I want.
Spencer
I
Jones.
want tuning into spring training to see dingers. That's all I need.
All right, Davis, we'll see you tomorrow back here on Coast to Coast. Davis Maddock, every day on Ferrall Coast to Coast. We're on the grid. We're back right after this.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire. only on SportsGrid.
We just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us. It is time for this day in Carver High history. Way back we start today, Joe. How about 1959? Bob Cousy of the Celtics sets a then NBA record with 28 assists as the Celtics score 173 points against the Minneapolis Lakers. Too bad he was playing against plumbers and firemen, right? That are Bob Cousy. He was playing against plumbers and firemen back in that era. 1960, the U.S. Olympic ice hockey team beats the USSR 3-2 on their way to the gold medal. Not as famous as the 1980 team that beat the USSR. 1963, Mickey Mantle signs a baseball contract worth $100,000, or what Aaron Judge gets now every time he goes to the plate. 1966, Richard Petty comes from 2 laps down to win the Daytona 500 when it's called due to rain after 198 laps were completed. I mean, honestly, they couldn't finish it at 198, couldn't get the last few in. 73, White Sox slugger Dick Allen signs a 3-year, $750,000 contract. 1987, Joe, the NCAA cancels SMU's entire 1987 football schedule for gross violations of the NCAA rules regarding athletic corruption. This would also be known, Joe, as the death penalty that they gave SMU. The Pony Express shut down, Joe. I know you were very upset about that.
Dickerson and Craig James, back in the day, 1982, they played Pittsburgh in the Sun Bowl. It's fantastic.
It would look great on the screen, I bet, too, right? SMU and Pitt, when they played, great on the screen. As SMU now, 30 years later, joining the ACC, next year. That'll get Joe very fired up, as always. We have another hour to go on Coast to Coast. I have a few more NBA games. I have a lot of college games. Got a lot of NFL news for Joe in the final hour. Haro as well. We're back on the grid right after this.